Hello, I'm Jolanta Szymańska and you're watching TVP World Talks, where every word matters. Of course, words matter, but also negotiations and positions. This is what we're going to talk about with regard to the European Union, where Ursula von der Leyen is facing delays when it comes to the composition of the future European Commission. In order to discuss this, but also to discuss other issues, including the Polish presidency of the European Union, which is setting its sights on the enlargement of the bloc, we have invited our guest today, Jolanta Szymańska, who is joining us now, representing the Polish Institute for International Affairs. Hello and welcome to TVP World.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So before we begin the discussion on the composition of the European Commission, a quick question. Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk has criticized Germany for changes to the way the Schengen zone is operating. He says it's effectively suspending its operation, and this of course is a part of the migration debate. Can you tell us a bit more about it?
Well, actually Schengen is in crisis after the migration crisis of 2015, and it's not really so new that member states decide to close internal Schengen borders. According to regulations, according to Schengen border code, they should not be extended more than 2 years. We know many examples in Europe now, like Austria, for example, a country that closed borders many times. But usually, member states decided to do it only on particular points of the borders. Now Germany would like to close all the borders, actually. So it's a new quality and the next sign of the fragmentarization and the deep crisis of the Schengen zone. And we should all think about it because we are on a way to implement a migration pact. We know that Poland was not a big supporter of this pact, but without this pact and with problems of our external border that we are facing actually every summer, we can say, this kind of attempts of closing internal Schengen borders will repeat and repeat. So I think there is space to discuss because this decision may influence our migration situation because migrants probably, the group of migrants that would be interested of going to Germany probably will stay in Poland. So we will have a bigger problem with their integration, their protection and so on and so on. So I think, we should discuss and try to implement together the migration pact because decision of one particular member state may influence the situation of another. So, but frankly speaking, I can see that Germany is acting under the pressure of elections because we could see the rise of Alternative for Germany. We had attacks in Germany, so now German politicians do a lot to tighten migration policy, to show the voters that they have control over migration. So the easiest way, of course, is to close borders. The question is if we should do it just independently or we should consult it with other member states. And it's here also the scope for the activity of the European Commission, because European Commission is to protect also the Schengen zone.
So it certainly is. I mean, this is a multifaceted issue, as you've mentioned. We have organic migration into the European Union, but we also have the artificially induced migration from Belarus into Poland and the Baltic states. One of the issues that the European Commission will have to deal with once it is formed, should we be worried that this formation process has been delayed slightly?
Well, actually, it's not really very late, let's be honest. Member states had a deadline to present their candidates for the Commission until the end of August. We know that they mainly presented male candidates, so Ursula von der Leyen pushed them to change some candidates. That's why we are facing like 1 week delay.
Why didn't they comply? Or did they want actually to leave space for negotiations, initially presenting a male candidate, but kind of like, you know, making it known to whoever was interested that we could actually change our stance if there are concessions, perhaps, on some issues?
Well, actually, according to the treaty, European Commission cannot force countries to present two candidates because Ursula von der Leyen wanted them to present one male, one female candidate. But according to treaty, member states present just a candidate. So they have their right to choose. So they wanted to show that they just execute their rights. But of course, some countries like Slovenia or Romania, because they decided to change for a female candidate, they think that presenting female candidate gives them a better chance to get better portfolio. So, but this female-male situation is one reason. I think the other reason why we have this delay with the presentation of the Commission is the presentation of Draghi's report on Monday, because Mario Draghi, the former president of European Central Bank, presented very important report on European competitiveness. This is very actually a pessimistic report that will probably influence a program of the new Commission. So I think that maybe Ursula von der Leyen, in the light of this report, needs a little bit more time to adapt her new college to, and some particular portfolios to priorities that were indicated in this report. This is also my kind of guess.
So it could be a last-minute reshuffle there, but also we have the question of the presidency. We know that the Hungarian presidency has been facing something of an uphill struggle, and some say it is of its own doing, because it had an agenda that was not really consistent with what the European Union wanted to achieve. Now, Poland is set to take over from Hungary next year. Do you think that this will actually bring a new momentum to major discussions within the European Union, in particular when it comes to EU enlargement?
Yeah, this is true that in Hungarian way of thinking, enlargement means only enlargement to the direction of Western Balkans. Our view on enlargement is much wider. We think about Eastern Europe, about especially Ukraine. So
Moldova also.
Yeah, Moldova and Georgia. But let's say Ukraine is top priority for Poland. And we know the view of Viktor Orban and generally on Ukrainian-Hungarian relations. They are, so to say, not the best. So especially when we talk about enlargement, the Eastern enlargement, this will be the crucial moment for sure for all the candidate states, the Polish presidency. And of course, it's also one of the priorities for us to push this process, because now it's not much going on during this Hungarian presidency. So there is a hope that something will change.
Ukraine's Prime Minister said that he has high hopes for Poland's presidency. Specifically, he stated that Poland has always been Ukraine's advisor on its path towards the European Union, and it has also been one of its greatest allies next to the Baltic states. So do you think that Ukraine's hopes for a late 2025 accession talks, would this actually materialize under the Polish presidency? Or at least thanks to the momentum given to it by Poland?
Well, we should at least create environment for this. I mean, we as a country are very much involved. Even our institute, my institute, is involved in preparations of Ukrainian officials to the accession to the European Union. So we do already a lot on bilateral basis, but it's important to put it on the European Union agenda, because, I mean, we achieved already a lot, but we need a lot of reforms, and we need also to reform, to stimulate discussion about EU internal reform to prepare the Union for the enlargement. And here we have really a lot of things to do. So I think that there is a hope and chance for Poland to really act and to really have an important presidency.
And do you think that Poland will be able to convince the skeptics within the European Union? Hungary, perhaps Slovakia, some other countries might also be thinking, well, maybe Ukraine still isn't ready, even though Ukraine is doing a lot in order to bring about compliance with the European Union's legislation at this stage.
Well, it will not be easy, that's for sure, but the crucial element is money. And what I can see, because Poland would like to have a commissioner for a budget, for a future budget, so I can see that we are going to fight for a big and ambitious budget that will also prepare the Union for this enlargement. So I think we as a country have this approach that the discussion about money is the most difficult. So we start from the most difficult discussion about the next long-term budget in the European Union. I think this is a good step because, I mean, we are living in the European Union in the cycles, in the budgetary cycles, because every long-term budget is designed for 7 years. If we want to think about enlargement in 10 years perspective, we should think about this next long-term budget for a preparation, because the next one will be for a bigger union. So, I mean, we have good understanding of processes that are going on, and I keep my finger crossed for a success of this process.
Very quickly, because we're approaching the end of our conversation, what about other countries? Moldova, which is set to hold a referendum on EU membership. Also, quite intriguingly, Serbia, which has been sitting on the fence on certain issues, not least foreign policy recently.
Well, I'm afraid that Serbia is not doing much to make a progress in a process of joining the European Union. Actually, recently we could observe a kind of regress in this process.
Poland's Prime Minister Donald Tusk is set to visit Serbia. Do you think some progress could be achieved?
Yeah, I mean, probably they will talk about enlargement also, but we can see negative trends like tightening relations among Serbia and Russia and Serbia and China. So we need also to discuss with Serbia to fight for our presence there, I think. So still showing that EU is an alternative for big powers, and actually interesting and good alternative for Serbia.
And that the EU is prepared to fulfill its promises of enlargement. I mean, the Balkan countries have been waiting for quite a while, and this has led to some of them, at least, becoming more skeptical. Hopefully this trend will be reversed in due time. Jolanta Szymańska was our guest today here on TVP World. Thank you very much for joining us and for sharing your insight.
Thank you very much.
And I'm Jolanta Szymańska. You're watching TVP World. Please stay with us for more latest news and updates.